Hey guys, welcome to Unshackling Sudokus and Puzzles. I'm Kishore and today's video will be on a classic Sudoku titled The Delicate Flower. This Sudoku was created by Exkajer and I happen to author about this Sudoku that there is one advanced technique in this Sudoku after which this Sudoku falls rather quickly. So it got my attention and I gave this Sudoku a try about an hour back, and I thought that this really was worth for a video. So this is not going to be a live solve. Hope you guys enjoy this video anyway. It really has a beautiful technique in the Sudoku hidden well. So what I would suggest is do give it a try from the link given in the description of the video, and then come back and watch the video. The rules are classic, simple classic rules. Each row, each column and 3 by 3 box of the grid will have digits from 1 to 9 without any repetitions. So these are the rules. Having said that, we'll just start the Sudoku now. Okay, 7 is in column 7 and column 8, and 7 is in row 1 and row 2. That gives me a 7 here. And I don't think you can narrow down 7 to any 2 or 3 cells in any box. Okay, there is a 5 in column 4, column 6. That gives me 5 in one of these two cells. And if you look box 4, there are 3 options possible for 5. And if you look at box 1, there is exactly 2 cells left. 5 cannot be in column 2 and 5 cannot be in row 2. And that allows us to mark a pointing pair of 5s in box 4 and a 5 in one of these two cells in box 9. All standard and simple classic scanning technique can get you here. Okay, you can mark a few more pointing pair of some digits also, but the real trick lies hidden elsewhere. Okay, so as I've solved this Sudoku previously, I'm going to start writing the candidates because I know that writing these pointing pairs is not going to be useful anymore. So I'll start writing the candidates in the cells. So this box looks very constricted. 3, 4, 7, 8 and 9. So remaining digits are 1, 2, 5 and 6, right? Can't have 1 and 5 in column 2, so that's a 2, 6. This is a 1 and 6. This would be 2, 5, 6 because you have a 1 here. And I'm going to straight away go to the cells that are going to play a pivotal role in this Sudoku. So I have 6, 7, 8 here and 5 and 9 here, which means that the remaining digits in this column are 1, 2, 3 and 4. So you have 1 and 2 here, this becomes 3, 4. I have a 4 here, so this becomes 1, 2, 3 and 1 and 3 here, which means this is 2, 4 and 2 and 4 here, which means this is 1 and 3. And I'll write a few more digits to get hang of the Sudoku, and then we'll look at the technique that defines this Sudoku. There are not many cells where there are 3 or less than 3 candidates in the Sudoku. You'll notice that many cells have 4 or more candidates. So maybe let's write some digits here. You have 2, 4, you have 3 and 9 and 1, which means these 3 cells can only be 5, 6, 7 and 8. So out of which this cell becomes 5, 6, 7 and 8 are removed. This becomes 6, 7, 8 because 5 is here, and this would be 5, 7, 8. And maybe this vacant space can be filled up with digits. You have 1, 2 and you have 7, 8, 9. So these becomes 3, 4, 5, 6, and 3 and 5 are right away eliminated. That's not a 3, so that's a 4, 5, 6. And maybe this area 1, 3, 7, 4 and 9. So these would be 2, 5, 6, 8, right? You have 2, 5 here, so that's a 6, 8. And these would be 2, 5, 6 and 8. Let's not mark that now. Okay, row 4, 4, 8, 9, 3 and 7, right? Remaining digits must be 1, 2, 5, 6. So you have 1, 2, 6 here because 5 can't go here. And 6 is here, so these must be 1, 2, 5. And 5 can be eliminated, so that must be a 1 and 2. So I have 3, 5, 7 in box 6, 1 and 6 in row 6, which means these cells would be 2, 4, 8, 9. 2 is eliminated from here, so that's a 4, 8, 9. Okay, so if I look at column 2, 1, 5, 9 and 4 and 8. So remaining digits are 2, 3, 6 and 7. And box 7 has 2 as a given already, so these cells must be 3, 6, 7, and 3 cannot be in row 8, so that becomes a 6 and 7. Okay, so these two cells can be filled, can't be 1 and 7, cannot be 2 and 5, and cannot be a 9, so they must be a 3, 4, 6 and 8, out of which 8 is eliminated and a 4 is eliminated, right? So you can notice that we are writing candidates in cells which seem interesting, but very soon you'll realize that this Sudoku, you'll come to a dead stop. There will be a point where you'll feel that writing any more digits is useless, and the trick that needs to be found is already there in the grid, without which you can't continue further. Okay, I think at this point we can start using the technique. So at this point I'll highlight some cells which are of a real interest to us. Look at these cells, guys. Does that give you any pattern? Yes, it does. For one thing, the first question that comes to my mind, comes to anybody's mind or the solver's mind is, why these cells in particular, or how to spot these cells? That is a really good question, and the answer is, if you look at all of these cells, they have one thing in common, and which is all these cells have bi-value candidates, and that should really interest you as a solver, right? And one more thing, the second thing that is of interest to me is that if you look at all of these cells carefully, even though they are distributed across different boxes which are not even close to each other, box 1, box 2 and box 8, which is quite away, but the one thing which is binding all of these cells together is that each of these cells have some combination of 5 digits, namely 1, 2, 3, 4 and 6. So that should give you some indication that there is something going on in this Sudoku. So now I've marked all these 5 cells. So by just looking at it, we can't deduce anything. However, by marking this and seeing out both the possibilities, it's easy to identify what happens. So for example, since I've solved this, I know for sure that one of these two cells would be a 6. One of these cells, two cells would have to be a 3. You'll notice that 3 is common in these digits and 6 is common in these digits, and one of these two cells would have to contain a 2. So this is basically an XY chain which is covering 5 cells. And this is how I solved the Sudoku. When I attempted it about an hour back, I found this logic and it took me about 15 minutes to complete the Sudoku. So now let's see what happens if none of these two cells contain a 6. I told you that one of these cells, two cells contain a 6, and the next question that comes to my mind is, which may come to the viewer's mind is, how do I know that one of these two cells would contain a 6? Or what is the thing that made me deduce that one of these two cells is a 6? That is also a really good question, and I would answer it this way. It didn't actually come to me naturally. I tried both the ways to see what happens if this does not contain a 6, and that's how I hit upon it. It's not like I immediately saw the pattern and deduced that 6 must be in one of these two cells. I just asked myself what happens if this is a 1 and this is a 2 and there is no 6 here. And I got a contradiction, and then I put 2 and 2 together and I deduced that this must be an XY chain. And that's how I went about it. So let's say we have a 1 here and a 2 here. I'm showing you that one of these two cells must contain a 6. So this becomes 3, that becomes 4. And now you'll notice that it can't be a 2, it cannot be a 4. So basically one of these cells would have to contain a 6. That is proved. And I'm going to mark a corner pencil mark there. So which means 6 can be eliminated from here, and this is also not a 6. 3, 4, 7, 6, 8, 9. So this is 1, 2 and 5. And next I told you that 3 must be in one of these two cells. So basically we are looking at cells which have a common digit and establishing that the common digit must be present in one of those cells, right? So let's see what happens if none of these two cells contain a 3. So this becomes 1, that becomes 3. And now this would have to be a 6. That has to be a 2. This has to be a 4. I'm sorry. I have to show you the contradiction, right? So let us remember for now 6 is here. I'll remove the corner candidates. So I'm marking this as a 1 and marking this as a 4. Let's see what happens if these two cells don't contain a 3. So this becomes 4, this becomes 2, this becomes 6. And now you'll notice that we are hitting a contradiction here. It cannot be 1, it cannot be 6. So which means that one of these cells would have to contain a 3. Our second most important deduction. Really nice logic, right? Superb one. So which means we can remove the 3 from here, because 3 is going in one of these two cells, so that's not a 3. And the next deduction I told you is that 2 must be in one of those two cells. Let's see what happens if those two cells don't contain a 2. So that's a 6, that's a 4, which means that becomes 3 and that becomes 1. Same idea again. If none of these cells contain a 2, you get a 1 here and you get a 6 here. And that is giving us a contradiction here. Superb, right? So which means that one of these cells, two cells contain a 2. And if I'm not wrong, one of these two cells must contain a 4 as well. Let's see if that happens. Suppose there is no 4 in one of these two cells. This is a 3 and that is a 2. That becomes 1, that becomes 6. And you will notice that 6 is not here and 2 is not here. So to summarize, we look at cells which have a common digit and establish that the common digit is in one of those two cells. So that is basically how an XY chain works, right? You form a chain of typically 4 cells. Sorry guys. So you form a chain which is having bi-value candidates and which is having some combination of maybe 4 digits, but in this case we have 5 digits, and then we establish that the digit common between those cells must be in one of those cells. That's how an XY chain basically works. So now we'll use this idea. 2 is in one of these cells, 1 is in one of these cells, 3 is in one of these cells. So we have eliminated the 3 already from here because 2 is here, so this becomes a 5. That is not a 5, that's a 1 and 2. That's going to give us a lot of information, guys. So we got a 1-2 pair here, right? So this is not a 5. That becomes, I'm sorry, this is not a 1 and 2. This has to be a 5. Which means this has to be a 6. That becomes 7, 8. And this 6 gives me a 1 here, gives me a 3 here, gives me a 4, a 2, 6, a 2, that 2 gives 1, that gives 2, that gives a 1. Look how beautifully the Sudoku is progressing because of that one single advanced technique. And the author was right in stating that it falls rather quickly after you find this tough logic. But without this, I think it's really difficult to solve the Sudoku. So 2, 4, 5 and 1, 6, 8. Now we have 3, 7, 9 remaining digits. So let's write in them. And if you look at column 3, 5 has only one cell left, so that's a 5. This becomes a 7, 8 pair. And 6 here gives me a 7. It's a 7. That's 8. That's 7. 1, 5, 7, 4, 6, 9. So this would have to be a 2. And I get a 3, 8 pair here. 3, 4, 8, 2, 5, 7. So which means I get a 1, 6, 9 here. And which means this must be a 3 for the column. So let's look at row 3. You have 1, 2, 7, 8 and 3, 5, 6. So which means these two cells must be a 4 and a 9, and 4 can't go here. So that's a 9, that's a 4. And if I look at row 2, I have 1, 3, 4, 7, 2 and 5. And 8, 9 cannot be in this cell. So you have a naked single there. So that becomes a 6. and that would have to be an 8 and a 9. And now these two cells can't be 3, 5, 6, 7, 2, 8, 9, so they become 1 and 4. 4 gets eliminated, so that is 1, that is 4, and this 4 gives me a 6 here, and these must be a 3 and a 5. 3 is immediately eliminated, so this is a 5, that is a 3. And you'll notice that a 6 here gives me an 8 here, right? That becomes 8. And these two cells for the column must be 3, 5, 7, 8, 1, 2, 6. So they must be 4 and 9. And 4 is not possible here. So that's a 9. And that must be a 4. And 5 is pushed here. 5 cannot be in column 9. So 5 gets pushed here. These must be 2, 4, 6. 4 cannot go in row 9. 4 cannot go in column 8. 4 goes here. So that gives me a 2, 6 pair. And 9 is in row 7 and row 9. That gives me a 9 here. And which means the two cells are 1 and 6. 1 goes here and 6 goes here. And which means these two cells must be a 3 and 8. So can't have a 8 here. So that would be 8 and that would be a 3. And that allows me to place a 3 here, which means this becomes a 7, 9 pair. And 3, 8 can be resolved now. So that is a 3 and that is an 8. Okay, 2, 3, 4, 8 and 1, 5, 9. So these must be 6 and 7. You can't have 7 in row 8. So that must be a 6. That must be a 7. And 2, 6 can be resolved now. So this goes to be a 6. This goes to be a 2. And 5, 6, 7, 9, 3, 4, 8. So this would be a 2. That would be a 1. 1, 4, 6, 3, 5, 7. So I need a 2 in column 9. 2 cannot be in row 5. So that is a 2. And 7 resolves this 7, 9 pair. Gives me a 9 here. 2, 4, 5, 1, 3, 7. So that's a 9. That's a 9. That's an 8. That's an 8. And that's a 6. With that, I've completed this delicate flower Sudoku by Exkajer. It was an excellent one. It illustrated the technique really well. I wonder if there is any other intended step in the Sudoku. I'm not sure, but I thought that this chain was excellent because it really helped us give us some digit, and the Sudoku collapsed rather quickly after that. So I'm not certain if this is the intended path. I hope you guys enjoyed watching me show you this technique. I really enjoyed making a video on this Sudoku, and please do hit the subscribe button below. Many of you guys have been watching the channel without subscribing, so we'll really appreciate if you hit the subscribe button below and subscribe to the channel. Thank you for watching, guys. We'll see you soon.